Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. A quote by Norman Cousins. Many times people commit acts without truly thinking of the repercussions. An act in the heat of the moment, or even something premeditated, can have long-lasting effects. And some of those effects last a lifetime. An act intended to harm one person can take a toll on many. Whenever you take the life of someone, someone else is reborn. Reborn through pain. And reborn with a new understanding that the old person that existed is now gone. And the hurt they feel from missing their loved one will never allow resurrection of who they used to be. March 4th, 1998. The world would make way for Sunny Giordano. She would be born to her parents Anthony and Joyce Giordano, where the place she would call home would be Memphis, Tennessee. She would begin her early years of education at Oak Forest Elementary, in which she would transition to Highland Oaks, and then Sherwood Middle School, before ultimately attending Overton High School. By the time Sunny Giordano reached high school, she's described as someone who was a loving soul, an animal advocate, a true friend to those around her. She was also described as a selfless person, someone who was non-judgmental, a person who could find the good in everyone. While attending school, she would be elected into the Honor Society several times. She was no doubtably someone who enjoyed learning. She was determined, someone who was heading for the stars. Outside of schooling, she enjoyed spending time with family and friends. She enjoyed music. She had an artistic ability, and drawing was one of her strong points. She also had a knack for doing impersonations of people on TV, with Lilo and Stitch being one of her favorite impersonations. She was your average girl with a witty side, someone who could place a smile upon your face in your lowest time. Outside of her normal activities, going to the beach was one of her favorites because she loved to swim. In fact, her swimming talent would ultimately end up saving one of her relatives when she would hop into a body of water to save her cousin. With Sunny saving the life of another, you can add one more attribute to that list. Sunny Giordano was a hero. In the year of 2016, Sunny Giordano would turn 18 years old, months shy of her graduation. And upon graduating high school, she already had her life planned out. By the time graduation came around, she had a passion for hairstyling, nails, and doing eyebrows. She was also known as the girl who liked to express her personality through her hairstyles. So upon completing high school, it's no secret, she wanted to go into cosmetology. Sunny's plan was to attend school in the fall semester in order to achieve this goal. However, during the summer, something would happen that would alter not only her life, but everyone around her. July 3rd, 2016. This is one day prior to the 4th of July, where celebrations occur. Sunny Giordano and her then boyfriend of a month, named Ben Bolden, would decide to go to Nashville in order to celebrate. They would drive to Nashville, and then they would check in to the Lotus Inn, located in the Donaldson area. They would spend the 4th there, but on the next day, something would occur. July 5th, 2016, approximately 10 p.m. An officer is doing a routine check of the hotel parking lots. Checking hotel parking lots and parking lots of businesses is something normal for the Nashville PD. But while doing his normal routine, he would notice a male who looked agitated. This male would be spotted at the Lotus Inn Hotel. He noticed that this male was walking towards a blue Crown Victoria that was also running. But the thing that really struck the officer is that when approaching him and striking up a conversation, the male said that he was checking out of his hotel and getting ready to leave. Now, I mind you again, this is 10 p.m. and it's not a normal time for someone to be checking out of a hotel. People normally leave in the morning. Now, I'm not saying that people don't leave at night, but again, it's one of those odd circumstances that would naturally lead to another conversation. The male that the officer was talking to was none other than the boyfriend of Sunny Giordano, Ben Bolden. Now, he would have a conversation with Ben and continue to question him. But somewhere along the lines, Ben would break. He would eventually tell the officer that he was speaking with the reason why he looked so agitated. He would reveal that there was a deceased woman inside of his hotel. Armed with this information, Ben Bolden would be detained, and the officer would go to his hotel room in order to do a check. Upon reaching the hotel room, the officer would immediately notice blood at the footway of the door. But once making his way inside, he wouldn't see anything in the immediate area. But once canvassing the bathroom, he would discover the body of a young female wrapped inside of a sheet. Realizing that he had just walked into a crime scene, he would immediately back out and call the crime scene investigation squad for further analysis. He would then go back to his patrol car and attempt to interrogate Ben Bolden. However, at this point, he's clammed up. He's not saying anything else. He wouldn't even give the authorities the name of the victim. The authorities would then transfer him to the local jail and work on identifying the victim.
Steve, right now they're telling us a woman was found stabbed to death in a motel room here at the Lotus Inn and Suites not far from the airport. And this morning, the police have left the scene, but the investigation just beginning. This is a look at the room where they were focusing all their investigation overnight. Room 225. We're just off Stewart's Ferry Pike. This is the room where police found this woman unidentified at this time. They haven't released her name to us. They say she was stabbed to death just after 10 o'clock last night is when they got the call. We talked with one man named William who was staying in a room on the first level. He didn't want to be identified, but he says he heard some commotion around 10 o'clock last night. He says he didn't know what was going on, but he did see the victim earlier in the day. The medical examiner was on the scene about an hour ago, removed the woman's body, taken away for a full autopsy a little later today. Right now, the investigation continues as police work to identify the suspect. Detectives within the Hermitage precinct are looking at surveillance footage from this hotel. There is close to a dozen cameras on this property, with several pointed at the crime scene.
Through fingerprint analysis, they were able to identify the victim as 18-year-old Sunny Giordano. An autopsy would later confirm that the victim had succumbed to a stab wound in the neck area. When the family is contacted and given the bad news, they would be interviewed. And during this interview, the parents would make notation that neither of them had ever met Ben Bolden, but they did know that she was only dating this guy for 1 month. And to make matters worse, in that short amount of time, Sunny Giordano had already been subject to abuse. And to add insult to injury, they are now going through one of the hardest periods of time that they will ever encounter. They would be forced to make preparations for the funeral of their 18-year-old daughter. Meanwhile, while preparations are being made, Ben Bolden is sitting inside of the county jail. At this period of time, the police would continually try and interrogate 23-year-old Ben Bolden. But in the beginning, he still wasn't talking. However, later on during the investigation, he would open up. He would eventually tell the officers that, yes, Sunny Giordano was found in the hotel room that they had rented together. However, he would claim he wasn't the culprit. Ben Bolden would tell the authorities that an unidentified male was the reason that Sunny had lost her life. He said that this guy came to the hotel room, committed the act, and then he left. However, after checking surveillance, the authorities would quickly rule out his story because on tape, no one had came to that room on that night, nor did anyone exit. The only person seen on camera would be 23-year-old Ben Bolden, which means he's 100% at fault for what had happened. Years would pass before Ben Bolden would finally have his day in court. His day in court would come in the year of 2019, in the beginning. And during his trial process, he would be found guilty. Since Ben Bolden didn't offer any information as to what happened, the authorities were forced to go to trial with only what they knew. Besides the forensic evidence, a motive was non-existent. However, they did offer one as to what they thought happened. They thought that him and Sunny had gotten into an argument that night, and in the heat of the moment, he took her life. This theory would eventually lead them to a successful conviction on voluntary manslaughter, as well as the tampering of evidence. But the sentencing is where this story gets even more heartbreaking. The judge would decide that the now 26-year-old Ben Bolden would receive a sentence of a mere 10 years inside of a prison. 10 years. That's it. 10 years for taking the life of another. That type of sentence truly makes you think, because there are a lot of people sitting in prison for a longer period of time for a lot less, which makes you question, in this case of Sunny Giordano, was justice truly served? Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. A quote by Norman Cousins. Many times people commit acts without truly thinking of the repercussions. An act in the heat of the moment, or even something premeditated, can have long-lasting effects. And some of those effects last a lifetime. An act intended to harm one person can take a toll on many. Whenever you take the life of someone else is reborn. Reborn through pain. And reborn with the new understanding that the old person that existed is now gone. And the hurt they feel for missing their loved one will never allow resurrection of who they used to be.
Stand up against the wall so I can trace you with one fine line. We have become a home that's built of all your poems and mine. Please don't disappear. It's not what you think it's gonna be like, but nothing ever is in this life. It's a slow dance in paradise. When the world's on fire, look for my eyes. I know you wanna go, and I don't blame you at all.
19-year-old Sunny Giordano had the world ahead of her. She lost her life at a very young age. She had plans to attend school and make something of herself. However, that was all cut short due to the hands of another. At this moment of time, only 2 people truly know what happened in that hotel room on that night, and that's Sunny Giordano and Ben Bolden. And one of them isn't here to tell their side of the story. Sunny Giordano's family have now started a foundation in order to spread awareness to domestic violence and other situations. They refused to let their family member die in vain. Rest in peace, Sunny Giordano. Thank you for being a light for others.